What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Extra Point College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Carnes, joined as always by my co-host, Daniel Hammock. Daniel, we have another crossover with college football and the NFL. So the NFL draft is happening this week. So Thursday, we'll get the first round. So we're going to do our best shot of, hey, we know these players as college players. Who do we think is the best fit? Who do we rate as the best players in this year's draft? Potentially, what are some NFL people overlooking, just looking at tools and missing for college players? So we're going to give our best shot of a first-round mock draft here.
Yeah, I think that's something that gets overlooked. There's a large community of college football fans who are also NFL fans that really get frustrated this time of year because you start seeing these small school guys pop up, or some players who maybe you watched every Saturday not accomplish all their goals or not lead their team to victories or whatever the case may be. And we sit there and say, how are they getting picked ahead of this other guy? We know better. We saw this. There is a lot of unevenness in college football, which leads to, a lot of this, but especially those of us who are plugged into recruiting and like the lifeblood through the whole way. I think that, there's real opportunity for, us as, the college football fan to be able to point these things out and say, no, this guy should go here because he's better and he'll actually be a, long-term pro.
Absolutely. So this will be a lot of fun. I'm going to do the odd picks. Daniel, you're going to do the even picks, and we're going to see how this shakes out here by the end. So I have first pick. Here we go.
Yeah.
Panthers. They need a quarterback. This one's easy for me. I think the best quarterback in this draft is Bryce Young, and I don't think I need to say much more about it. If you're a college fan listening to this, I don't think I've seen a player since I've been, I'll say, seriously watching college football that is as calm under pressure as Bryce Young. I don't think there's a quarterback in college football since I've been watching that if your team is down a touchdown with 2 minutes left, that I'd rather have the ball than Bryce Young. He's everything. The only thing he doesn't have is size, and he's proven that doesn't matter. And the NFL, I think, has proven that doesn't matter with quarterbacks succeeding that are shorter. So Panthers get their franchise quarterback, Bryce Young. This is why you traded for the first pick, is to go get your guy, Bryce Young.
And just with Bryce Young, he's so good at, like, he can be elite with an elite offense around him, and he can pick up a bad offense around him too, which NFL, you're constantly having to pick up players around you. So great first pick. So Bryce Young off the board with the second overall pick. Houston Texans would have drafted Bryce Young. I think that's their apple of their eye. The new coach, DeMeco Ryans, former Nick Saban, Alabama linebacker, turned defensive coordinator, now turned head coach of the Houston Texans. I still think there's a good chance that they could go Will Anderson here and surprise everybody, because they have, pick later in the first round at number 12. But I think that at this point they have to go quarterback. If I'm them, I'm taking CJ Stroud, make sure I get my guy. So CJ Stroud, one of the best prospects out there. Is a lot of people compare him with Bryce Young, but he's taller, played in an elite program, especially his Peach Bowl against Georgia, one of the best defenses in the country, if not the best one, and he just shredded them. I mean, he has elite receivers, but even amongst that, he scrambled. He can do it all. So, CJ Stroud, I think, is a complete prospect. Only issue is that there's been several duds of Ohio State quarterbacks for whatever reason at the NFL level. So he's going to have to squash that. But I'm not, necessarily concerned with where guys went to school. I'm trying to draft the best player. And what I see is the best player at that position outside of Bryce Young. So I'm taking CJ Stroud.
I like it. That's exactly where I'd go too. I think that's your tier one quarterbacks in this draft, and them going 1-2 makes sense. All right, Cardinals. Cardinals are needing, and they need some offensive line, but they really need some defensive line as well. I think you can get one of two players here. I'm going to go with who I think, if we're just talking on the field performance, is the best prospect in this draft. Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, you can play anywhere on the defensive line. He is an absolute freak. This is a once in a generation, I'll say once in a decade defensive line prospect. Measurables are off the charts. He proved it all 3 of his years at Georgia, even as a freshman, sophomore this past season, even fighting through an injury to come back, play for his team. Again, you can line him up anywhere on the defensive line. I think he plays best in a 3 tech in that B gap where he can take on 2 guys. But I don't think I've seen a defensive lineman in probably the last 3 years that does as well as he does when against the pass and the rush. Like he plays the position so pure. Um, again, if you're worried about off the field stuff, hopefully you have that type of protection in your organization. You put Steph in that contract where you're not out of a lot of money if dumb decisions are made. But hey, he's clear of all charges at this point, and I think he's the best prospect in this draft. So if we're just talking football here, Jalen Carter at number 3 to the Cardinals.
Yeah, that one's a no-brainer. There are 2 elite defensive players, and he's one of them, especially on the defensive line. So great pick there. So now it comes to the Colts. Now, it's kind of a conundrum because it's like, what would I do as their GM with everything going on here? Will Levis has been mocked to them a good bit. I'm not a Levis fan by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that he's got some upside, but number 4 overall, I do think they're kind of hamstrung though, because I think they really like Levis. I think they're probably going to, from what I've heard, they're going to pick him, but I think they're at this point and they have to take a quarterback. Otherwise, they feel, they feel obligated that they have to take a quarterback. With that being said, I'm going to do them one better and take the quarterback that actually has more of an upside, has better tools. I'm going to go Anthony Richardson from Florida. I don't believe Levis has that great of a ceiling. Like I said, I would take Richardson. If it was really up to me, and I would kind of throw quarterback out the window for now because I don't love this class, and I would just take Will Anderson. But I think that they really need to go quarterback, just the state of where they are, draft for the future. So give me Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida. Really, you're drafting tools because his completion percentage is not great in college. He had some great flash plays. Obviously, he's a tremendous athlete. You're hoping that you've got guys who can develop him at the next level. Maybe you're drafting the next Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you're not, but you swing in the first round for these guys. So you got a top 5 pick. Take a top 5 talent.
Completely agree. All right. Goodness. All right. We go to Seattle. And if I'm Seattle, I'm sprinting to the podium with this pick. Will Anderson, best player available. You need defensive line. He's your best edge prospect. Yeah, well, Will Anderson. He should have won the Heisman 2 years ago.
Right.
Freak. Will Anderson.
Fits in nicely because they just are going to be replacing Jadeveon Clowney, who they just had. You get the younger, sexier, better version, and for a cheaper version. So great pick. Will Anderson could be the best football player in this draft, arguably, and you're getting him at number 5. Now, I would have Jalen Carter slightly slated ahead, but, Will Anderson's going to be that guy that's maybe going to win or have, be the sack leader, win the sack title every year, perennial 10-sack guy. All right, now we're getting to the place where quarterbacks can still be taken, but you're going to start seeing some premium defensive players taken. So we're at the Lions pick. I think if there was one of the elite quarterbacks, like if CJ Stroud were to drop for some reason, or Anthony Richardson makes it to this pick, I think that they are both in play. I don't think they love Will Levis or anything like that. If I'm Detroit, I'm gonna bank on lines of scrimmage. I'm going to take Tyree Wilson, the edge defender from Texas Tech. I think he's a complete player, great against the run and as a pass rusher. Tremendous size. That's really what's going to jump out, is that he's just the perfect size to go ahead and plug and play in the NFL. You have no concerns as far as any of that goes. So, and he played in a passing league in the Big 12, so he is used to getting after the quarterback and chasing him down. So, I feel good about Tyree Wilson at number 6 to the Lions.
Love it. All right. This is one of those Raiders need a. I'm not going quarterback because they signed Garoppolo. Tackle here. Like, do you get tackle? I'm having a lot of trouble with. I'm gonna go off to tackle. I really do think there's like a tier 1. There's 3 guys in this tier 1. I'm having a hard time. I'll just go with what the experts think. No. This is our thing. I will go Paris Johnson. I think he is the best pure tackle prospect in this draft. He's the biggest sized one. Paris Johnson, Ohio State. He's been awesome at Ohio State. I mean, I think he's a plug and play. He's your future left tackle. And so, like you said, you're in the top 10. Go ahead and get a tackle and get him for cheap because he's going to need a big contract here in 5 years.
And he's played right tackle, left guard, and left tackle. So you got flexibility.
Yep.
If you don't have a position for him just yet at left tackle, like you said, eventual left tackle. But he's one of those few guys like him versus Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones is strictly a tackle. I think Paris Johnson can kick into guard for the first year or two, and then you flip him out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Peter Skoronski is actually going to eventually just be a guard. Most likely might just be a guard. Okay, so that brings me to the Falcons pick. Yes, we're in Atlanta. Yes, this is, my dream to be drafting for the Falcons. This is exactly where I expect them to be, though, where they don't have one of the elite quarterback prospects that would cause them to kick the tires on Desmond Ridder a little bit. I think that they're settled at quarterback to a certain extent. I think at this point they're looking at either an edge guy, a cornerback, or an offensive tackle. And so looking at what they're going to have, you've got Christian Gonzalez that fell to you. He is someone that I think that they have very high priority on, even though they just traded for Jeff Okudah. That's technically a 1-year deal because he could leave next year, or they could, let him walk. I think Christian Gonzalez is in play with Oregon. But I'm going to have a little fun here. I'm going to take Bijan Robinson, running back for Texas, at 8 overall for the Falcons. He's been mocked into the top 10, and every time it's with the Falcons, those meetings have gone really, really well. And I think Arthur Smith would really like to have continued the dominant run game. They started with Tyler Algier last year, a 1-2 punch. And it's similar to what people will say about the Kyle Pitts pick a couple years ago. You're drafting an offensive weapon, not necessarily the position itself. That's what people get hung up on. You're taking a potential generational offensive weapon. And so go ahead and get this guy while he drops to you. Best value at the area, number 8 overall. Bijan Robinson out of Texas going to the Falcons.
Love it. I think you and I talked pre-show about this, where I'm like, man, did I need a running back? No, but I think if you look at how teams have drafted recently, like one that have been successful, one take best player available. The more I thought about it, I'm like these receivers that have gotten taken that looked like it was too early, just turn out to be playmakers and freaks, and like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, people waited on Jamar Chase at 5 when he got drafted, and I'm thinking, how many teams ahead are kicking them? Like the 49ers traded up and took Trey Lance in that draft when they could have had Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Think about that. So yeah, it's if you know there's a bona fide stud, get the bona fide stud.
Oh man, see, this is where I'm struggling now because You can take best player here.
And it's okay if our analysis starts to go down. Some of these guys are going to be less and less known.
No,
and everything like that.
I'm debating between two here because I think, okay, if you're the Bears, your opinion, do you want corner or do you want offensive line?
I mean, you've already got your franchise quarterback. What do you
Protect
do
him.
when you buy a house? You get insurance. So I'm always team insurance.
Broderick Jones, the Bears. Let's get
Great
your
pick.
insurance. Again, I think there's three on the tier one of tackles. Tackle prospect, and like we said, Paris Johnson could play anywhere, but Broderick Jones, I think him and Paris Johnson are right there, and Peter Skoronski as well. But yeah, Broderick Jones, he proves it at the highest level in college. He's huge. Like his size is perfect. So
Right.
again, not much more to say. Go protect your quarterback.
And it's like he's only started truly for 1 year in college. So he's still got so much ceiling left. So great pick. I think that's exactly what they should do. Well, if I am Philadelphia, I am jumping for joy because Christian Gonzalez has fallen to
Okay.
me. I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez, corner from Oregon, because I think he's just an elite prospect. And I mean, their defense is already great. You just continue to, buy in on some of this young talent and have great core. So Eagles take Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon.
Titans need offensive line. I'll go back to the tackle. You got three elite ones. Go ahead and take Peter Skoron. Is it Skoronski?
Skoronski, yeah.
There you go. Northwestern. Again, there's three elite tackle prospects. And by pick 11, they're all gone. That's how it should be in a draft.
Right.
So yeah, Titans. I'm taking offensive line, and I'm taking Peter Skoronski, Northwestern.
Well, this fell exactly how I wanted it to fall. If I'm the Texans, because I had their first pick and I took CJ Stroud. And so with their second pick at 12 overall, I'm going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba, and he's going to have his number one go-to target that he didn't have for much of this year. He did last year, and they are electric together. You definitely want your elite number one receiver and your elite quarterback to be on the same page. Can't think of anything better than bringing them from the same place, wide receiver U, and that is the Ohio State University. So Jackson Smith-Njigba to the Texans at number 12, a defensive-minded head coach getting two offensive cornerstones for the next several years in the first round.
Now that Rodgers is gone, do the Packers draft wide receiver in the first round?
Wow.
Do they? I don't know.
They could. Very well
They
could.
If I'm the Packers here, who's best player available at this point? Everyone has a different opinion on this. I'm trying to see Fitz who for Green Bay. I mean,
And
it's looking like
Witherspoon's really, really good cornerback from
he's
Illinois.
good. I'm just looking at like what they need, and it's like wide receiver, tight end, safety. I guess is there a wide receiver I would take here? There is. I'm gonna do it. Do it. They should have done.
Do it.
With Rodgers, Quentin Johnson. We've seen the value of wide receivers go way up. You can get him for cheap. He's an immediate playmaker. I think he might be. I'm with you. I would draft Jackson Smith-Njigba first, but as far as like total package wide receiver, he might be the best, like most
game.
complete receiver. Yeah, Quentin Johnson. So yeah, Quentin Johnson, TCU to the Packers at 13.
I like that pick. That's a good one. I think it's a good fit. Christian Watson on the other side. Jordan Love's going to need all the help he can get. So,
That's right.
All right. With the Patriots now. All right. And I do think that it's tough because post Tom Brady, people have really been questioning, do the Patriots even know what's going on anymore? That is a question I like to ask. I think that they're going to be sticking with Mac Jones. He showed some improvement last year, even with his injuries. So quarterback is not on the table. Sorry, Will Levis. What I do think is on the table is I like offensive tackle Darnell Wright. He's the next one off the board. He's going to be primarily a right tackle. I think he might end up more in the middle of the late first round, but he has climbed up the board. At this point, I'm just going to take what I think is the best player available, and that is Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois. I think good teams fill needs, great teams get best player available. I don't know which one that is right now, but cornerback is a need, and he's the best player available. So Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, cornerback.
Love it. All right, Jets. What are you going to give to Aaron Rodgers here to go win a title in this window? How about we go protect him?
Defensive player. I'm just kidding.
Darnell Wright, Tennessee. You just mentioned him.
Yep.
Let's go protect Aaron Rodgers. Darnell Wright.
I think it's a great pick, and I think he'll be very happy with that. Not that you need to, cater to him. No, but you do. Keep him happy for your 1 to 2 years with him, and
you got a small window.
And
that's where I'm like,
Darnell Wright's a plug and play right tackle. That's
right.
the thing about him. He's ready to go. So good pick. All right,
Commanders.
Washington Commanders.
Terrible uniforms.
Very not good uniforms. You know what? I'm just gonna go. I think that I'm gonna go with a edge player. I think that they need just someone who could be get after passer. You want to get as many young, talented players on defense as possible. Best player available, Miles Murphy, Clemson.
I would pair him with Chase Young and turn him loose.
Yeah,
I like it.
Chase Young might not hang around for too long. So I don't know how long they're going to keep it. So you gotta keep replenishing your talent. So
have the Steelers ever had a bad draft?
I mean, they did take Kenny Pickett last year in the first round, but by and large, their draft was good.
Yeah.
And I mean, Pickett was fine.
Like these are just teams that draft. Like they're one of the teams that just draft so well. It's like, I mean, Pickens in the second round. I mean,
yeah, I feel like Pittsburgh and Baltimore are just, and usually the Patriots to a certain extent, but Pittsburgh and Baltimore for sure always draft well.
Okay. Honestly, if it gets to here, we're not going to do trades. I'd trade because someone's going to trade it for Levis at this point.
Oh yeah,
he's fallen this far. But we're not doing trades, so I won't do that. Let's go.
Levis is being tortured in the green room right now, just not getting picked.
So many shots of him too.
It's so sad.
Would.
He's eating a banana with the peel on it, and he's drinking his coffee with mayonnaise in it.
That was fun, wasn't it? Okay. I'm gonna go. You know what goes great with Minkah Fitzpatrick is a Brian Branch. So let's just give you an all Alabama defensive backfield, on the back end with safety, and give him a partner for cheap, an electric safety duo for sure.
It's a great pick. Yeah, I think they're going to be, that would be a lethal combination. Well, if I'm the Lions at this point, I'm very, very happy that Levis has lasted this long. They're not, I think that they did the right thing by, using their early pick on, a position player with Tyree Wilson, with an edge player. I think at this point you can take a quarterback. They've got Jared Goff, but as far as their long-term plans, you can get Will Levis right here, and this is a good spot for him where he doesn't have to start right away, and they can kind of, develop and grow, do all those kinds of things. And if they end up hitting the lottery, then great. You got him at 18, and it's still in the first round, so you get the 5th-year option. So Will Levis, quarterback, Kentucky, going to Detroit at 18.
Love it. All right, let's go. Man, some good prospects left. This is a game where you're like fit versus best available. We're gonna go best available. I think, and a little bit of fit. Kalijah Cansey. I think outside of Jalen Carter, he's your best prospect, interior defensive line. I think it's unfair to make Aaron Donald comparisons just because they both went to Pitt. Let's let this guy be him, because Aaron Donald's a freak. He's one of a kind. So, but playing the same position, coming out of Pitt, that will be said on draft night. But
For sure.
Kalijah Cansey to the Bucks.
Well, at this point, we've gotten this is another, the Seahawks getting their second pick. Obviously, their first pick you picked for them, Will Anderson, which I could not be happier if I'm them. The next pick, you have to start thinking, what's the best player at this point? What sets me up going forward? I think that having edge is huge. At this point, I'm either thinking cornerback or I'm actually looking at wide receiver, because I think that DK Metcalf is going to be really expensive and they may end up trading him. I'm going to take Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC, for the Seahawks at that pick at 20.
Love it. Chargers, I'm sprinting to the podium and bookending my edge of Bosa and Nolan Smith. I think he's the best edge player in this draft. Nolan is someone who, as far as a run defender on the edge, was the best in college football.
And very underrated. People look at his size and they get where they don't believe in him.
Yeah. And never, it's not that he didn't put it together as a pass rusher. He just didn't have the sack numbers. Mm-hmm. And so this is a kid who is the number one player coming out of high school, like a number one overall prospect recruit. That's still in there. He proved it, played a lot of winning football. Nolan Smith, I think, great fit for the Chargers as well.
Yeah, slam dunk culture, like easy guy to root for. Easy guy to root for. So, awesome. And then I think at this next selection, kind of going off the beaten path a little bit, but this in some cases might seem like a reach. I think Baltimore is going to go get Darnell Washington, tight end at Georgia. Now, Darnell has been up and down the mock drafts because people don't know where to put him. Is he the third best tight end? Is he the only tight end that does what he does? Yes, I think he's one of one, plays his own position. He's the sixth offensive lineman, but he's also a star tight end. And the reason I fit this specifically is because I think that with Odell Beckham Jr. signing, that's a good receiver for Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be there in play. And I think that with Todd Monken, their new offensive coordinator, was the offensive coordinator at Georgia. I think he wants to run two tight end sets. They've got Mark Andrews there, from Oklahoma. So they've got two great options if you do that. And I think that they can kind of do some things that this offense, specifically with how Lamar Jackson plays, runs the ball, that kind of thing, you get another big target for him while also getting a guy who can just be a road grader in the run game. I mean, I think you're really messing some people up because, two great tight ends, a good wide receiver, and then, elite quarterback. Those will be fun to watch. So, yeah, Darnell Washington, tight end, going to the Baltimore Ravens.
Love the fit there. All right, 23rd, the Vikings, they need a corner, and you've got like a top 15 prospect. They'll still sit on the board. So Deonte Banks, Maryland, go get you a lockdown corner.
I like it. Don't overthink the room. Do what you need to do. And he's a great prospect. And so for him to be there, Good pick. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars. They're like, dude, this is the longest we've ever waited on draft night. What
Hmm.
is going on? Pick number 24. Do we even know what to do? Yes, I think that they are just going to take. Um, I think that they're going to look at the school that they just got their quarterback from, and I think they're going to go get a potential game wrecker in Brian Brzee. I think if he did not get injured in his career, I think he's looking at a top 5 pick potentially, a top 10 pick at the least. And so getting him at this spot, I mean, he's a guy who could eventually project to just be, a perennial Pro Bowler, All Pro kind of guy. So you get a leader of your defense. So give me Brian Brzee, 24th overall.
Love it. All right, I'm starting a corner run here. Giants also need a corner. Joey Porter Jr., Penn State.
Great pick.
They're going to start. I think you're going to start to see a lot of corners come off into the first round here.
That makes sense. Yeah, here you're just kind of drafting. I mean, this is a very deep edge draft, and it's a lot of guys who have a little bit of flaw here, a little bit of flaw there. So, I think with that being said, I like the Cowboys to go after Lucas Van Ness, the edge from Iowa. I think a lot of people talk about him early in the draft. I think that would be too early. He's a guy who famously has never started a game in college, but he's just a pass rush specialist, and Dallas has seemed to be really good with those kind of guys. So I think Lucas Van Ness is a great fit with the Cowboys. Get them some help on defense and that pass rush, which you can never have too much of. So,
dude, a guy whose name starts with L and he's got 3 names playing defense for the Cowboys, it just fits.
no brainer. Leighton Vander Esch. No. Lucas Van
um,
Ness.
oh, it's funny. All right, the Bills. Look, your offense is pretty set. You know what? I'm going back to the well here. Going back to my run on corners. Um, I understand some of the questions here. And then I really don't understand some of the questions here with this prospect. Again, this is our draft. I'm going Keely Ringo. We said before the season, Daniel, this was we had some friends ask us like, hey, you think, Keely, is he going to stay for a senior year prior to the season starting? And I'm like, dude, this is a bona fide first rounder. Like he checks every box for a corner. I don't understand some of I feel like he's been hyper critiqued because of the stage he played on. If he was playing football at Iowa or Mississippi State or Penn State, he'd be a top 15 pick. I think he checks every box. You'd be looking at his tools. I understand like people say him turning his hips too slow, like the side to side stuff. I think you're overthinking the room here. Keely Ringo, I think's a first round talent, and to be honest, someone's going to get a steal in the second round when they draft him. For real, but this is our draft, and I think this is a first round talent at corner.
I think you can still sneak in the first round. And like for real, I think that all these mock drafts kind of, we start to take them as gold and, this is true. But I agree with you. I think you're looking at worst case scenario, an elite safety. I think if he does not work at corner for whatever reason, because of like you're talking about people have been worried about hips or whatever. I mean, his elite size, he's 6'2", 230. I mean, he's going to, with that speed, be able to really make up for it. So great pick. The Bills get better. All right. So now Cincinnati Bengals, pick number 28. Can go a lot of different ways here, but one way is, dude, how fun is it? Let's just tool up this offense. All right. Give me Michael Mayer, tight end from
Pick.
Notre Dame. I think that he is, he can block and catch and run routes, all that stuff. He does it all. Very smart player. If you're not talking about a unicorn, freak like Darnell Washington, I think that in most years of the draft, Michael Mayer is number 1 tight end, no questions asked. So I think he's a great fit with this team. And then also just the whole, I mean, you want to just tool up this offense. You already got Jamar Chase, obviously Joe Burrow. Just let's make it as fun as possible. So this is where I'd go.
Love it. All right, Saints. You got, do I go kicker here from the Saints?
Yeah, probably. They need everything. So I do know that they need everything because they're worthless.
I'm thinking kicker for the Saints. You never know with the Saints.
Might be the spot.
They could get a Hall of Fame kicker here if they play their cards right. Let's see here. They do need a lot though on defense. I'm trying to decide here where I want to go. Let's go Will McDonald, Iowa State. It's a deep edge draft. They need a lot of defensive line, interior and exterior, but best available. I think Will McDonald's sitting there. You take him here at the end of the first round.
I think it's a good pick. And with their increasing cap situation with Cam Jordan, that bubble will eventually burst. So getting a guy in the first round, I think, is big. Will McDonald. All right, here we are. The Eagles' second pick in the first round. As you remember, their first pick, they ran and got an elite corner, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. At this point, I'm looking, and I think that there's a few different players that they could go with, but I'm actually going to sneak in and grab Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama.
If you didn't pick it, I was going to say my favorite fit here is Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, you got your defensive player, you just signed Hurts, give him a tool. Good pick.
Because you can use him anywhere. He might end up being your best receiver at times, and he's just an elite. I think he's an elite running back prospect, and so this will be a weird year having two running backs in the first round. But I think Bijan's a top half of the first round, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs, if someone's smart, they're going to sneak in that back last few picks of the first round. I think is a great spot for him. If it's not here, I actually like him for the Chiefs as well. But just a guy who can do it all. Get him right there at that spot with one of these really good teams picking at the end of the first round. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, I like it.
Yeah, if you didn't pick that, I was going to for the Chiefs. But again, you're the Chiefs. You don't need anything, if we're being honest. But let's just add some depth to the tight end room. Dalton Kincaid, Utah. He is a top 30 prospect. So you're sitting here at 31. Go ahead and take best available and give some depth to your tight end room with Dalton Kincaid. So I think that'd be a great fit and pick for the Chiefs here. Boom.
That's great.
Let's see what PFF thinks about my draft. All these grades are always hilarious.
I think it stinks. Something else
didn't
there.
even tell me.
At the end of the first round, I like DeJuan Jones from Ohio State, the other tackle, the right tackle. If one of these teams ends up just needing a guy who can just road grade and be a plug and play right tackle, I think you get good value with him. The end of the first round, beginning of the second round, he's going to be a steal for whoever does in that stage. You get him in the first half of the first round, you're kind of reaching. You've got other prospects, but he's one that I'd still look at.
Love it. Well, we'll see Thursday night what actually happens, but you heard it from the college experts. Here's who we like. One of these unique crossovers between college and the NFL. Excited to watch. I love seeing college players that we've watched and root for go have their dreams come true and get paid to do this. Well, they're kind of getting paid now, but you know what I mean? They're going to the NFL, getting paid millions to do this. So we'll be sure to watch Thursday night. You can follow us on social media at the Extra Point Pod. You can follow him on Twitter at Deep South Daniel. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Carnes with a K. That'll do it for this edition of the Extra Point. He's Daniel. I'm Jacob.